This episode of Bulletproof Cash Flow is brought to you by Realty Dynamics. Learn how people like you can build substantial passive income while creating wealth for the long term through real estate investing. Visit rdyne.com. That's RDYNE.com.
COVID taught us that they can work from home, and we're in a virtual world right now. I'm buying houses virtually. I'm looking at one today. I'm going to go look at it, but if it wasn't here in town, the owner is in Atlanta anyway, so I'll never meet him. Send him a contract. We've already had a couple of conversations. But if I'm not here to look at it, I got students buying houses in other cities from where they live just from videos of the house, because when we buy on terms, we're not taking any risk to speak of.
Working because you want to, not because you have to, is financial freedom. And we want to help you create that. Welcome to the Bulletproof Cash Flow Show. We're going to teach you how to achieve lifetime financial freedom through real estate investment. Your host is a multifamily syndicator and property developer. He's done deals reaching into the hundreds of millions of dollars. You'll hear from experts in all aspects of real estate investment, finance, development, and management. Everything you need is right here. This is the Bulletproof Cash Flow Show. And this is your host, Augustino Pintus.
Hey everyone, it's Augustino. In this business, just like any other business, you often need to rely on mentors to get you moving in the right direction. Well, our next guest is definitely one of those mentors. He is a nationally recognized real estate expert and trainer with over 39 years of experience in both residential and commercial properties. Now, he has personally bought and sold over 3,500 houses and has done well over $300 million in commercial property deals, and has taught literally thousands of students on how to purchase real estate without using any of their own money or their own credit. Now, he is also the host of the Mentor podcast, where he continues to share not only his knowledge and advice, but also that knowledge and advice from successful investors, real estate gurus, and business rock stars. With all that, I'd like to welcome to the show, Ron LeGrand. Ron, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. You read that just as I wrote it. That was pretty good.
Very well. You told me to do that. Now, guys, like what Ron has to say, you can reach him via his contact page at thementorpodcast.com, or you can also get him at ronlegrand.com as well.
Well, in this case, we want them to go to ronlegrand.com/bulletproof.
/bulletproof.
So they know it came from you.
Yes,
right?
yes. Great. Yes, good call. Okay, Ron, go ahead and tell listeners a little bit about your journey, how you got started.
Well, I'm actually over 40 years now. I just celebrated my 40th anniversary of getting into this business in 1982. Times were a lot different then. In fact, I talk to the young folks out there today, and they just don't know that it can get a lot worse. Okay, they haven't lived long enough to go through some of the things that an old guy like me have been through. 6 different cycles, incidentally. 2008 being the worst. By the way, I was doing what you're doing back in 2008. I was developing projects all over the country of all kinds. And then here comes 2008. So I like what you're doing. I'm taking office buildings and turning them into apartments, but I can't make any sense of it in Florida. The numbers just don't make any sense. So you're smart to go to Cleveland where they do.
Yes.
Anyway, I was a dead broke automobile mechanic, and came home one day and my wife's washing machine was broke. We'd already been married 17 years. And we just hit our 57th, by the way, last week, 57th year anniversary.
Wow.
And I couldn't afford to get her a washing machine. And I had spent the whole night thinking, I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. And the next morning I got up and started looking for something different. I had no idea what it was. And then I saw an ad that says, come learn how to buy real estate without money or credit. I knew it was a scam, but it appealed to me. So I went and checked it out, found out it actually wasn't a scam. And I went to a seminar that I had to borrow money to go to after that, and that was the beginning. It took me 3 weeks to get my first check, and I'm still getting them 40 years later. So that's how I got started. Hunger, basically. No knowledge, no credit, no money, no nothing, nothing to fall back on. I quit my job shortly after I came out of that seminar and did that first deal. First deal, only made $3,000 on it. but still was a lot of money to me.
Oh no, $3,000 in '82 was a lot of money. I mean, it really was.
Yeah, I don't know what that would be today.
Yeah, I don't know.
Probably 20 grand. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's a nice chunk of change to considering where you were, walking in, taking a course, and then monetizing it within weeks is a big deal. Right, harder to do today. Very hard to do today, comparatively speaking. But
not really. I was just a little simple wholesale deal. I get a contract, assign the contract. That's all I did. I mean, an idiot could do those. So that, and once you get in, especially in this market that we're just coming through, gee whiz. I mean, there's so many greater fools out there paying way too much for these properties.
Yeah.
Chasing deals. By the way, that is slowing down rapidly. You see that? You see it slowing down rapidly?
Well, right now, that's one of the reasons why we've pivoted more towards development and net lease is because multifamily these days just doesn't make much sense, right? It's very, very frothy.
You mean buying existing property? Yeah. Same reason. Too much competition. Too many people chasing.
Yeah, I think, but I also think that there are guys out there really pushing this line of business, and as like the end all to be all, you become a multimillionaire in 6 months, and it doesn't work out that way. I think you can probably talk to that. It took years to develop that muscle, right? To get to that point.
And that education.
Yeah, and the education.
And that confidence to do what you do. Yeah, I am envy what you do. What you're doing is creating your own market. And what you've learned is that no matter what happens out there that we can't control, people are always going to need a place to live. And you're providing more of that housing, which every city in the country needs. So good on you. I think you're heading to the right path. Plus, you were just telling me about this deal you're sitting in right now, which will make all of you guys multi-millionaires to buy when you get out of it. You only need one of those.
You only need one. That's right. I'm working on like a bunch of them. So I know you've been through a lot of cycles, to your point. I think six cycles, right? I think many of the people that are getting into the space, especially the young folks that are getting into it, they've never seen a cycle like they've never seen 2008. Many of them they don't even understand the full implication of 2008 because they're too young. How does the present day, how does it compare to 2007 and 2008? And maybe in previous cycles to that, because I think 2007, 2008 was a very unique thing because there's a lot of illegal activity taking place as opposed to true market forces. But previous cycles, like in the 90s and in the 80s, were probably a little more relevant. How does this compare? How does what's going on now compare?
I don't think it's, we're going to have, they say we're already in a recession. I mean, I don't even know how to define a recession. I don't know what it is exactly, except this market is turning around, slowing down. And in 2008, here in Florida, we dropped 40% of our values like that right after September of 2008 when Lehman Brothers went down. And it took 10 years to get that back, 10 years to get to where we were in 2005. And of course, last couple of years, appreciation has been skyrocketing. And if you look back in history, it shouldn't be any secret to anybody. It goes down and always comes back up, keeps on going up, doesn't go down for very long. And we're in one of those cycles that happens about every 60 years, somebody told me, but 2008, I mean, right now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that if you got inflation at the highest it's been and you got interest rates going up fast, what's going to happen to the real estate market? Like, it's going to slow down. I've been telling everybody that for about 2 years now. It's coming, and now it's here. So I tell everybody a recession's the best thing that happened to those real estate investors. Pray for a recession because everything changes. Sellers get a lot more motivated. And in my world, I buy a lot of houses on terms. Everybody's out there chasing the cash deals that need rehabbed. I'm looking for the beautiful homes and the beautiful neighborhoods on terms. So I buy them on terms so I can put lease option tenant buyers in there on terms and get all the benefits of owning real estate, not just go get another check. Like you wholesale and you rehab, you just got a job, go get another check, pay maximum taxes on it, got no wealth coming into the future. Whereas if I keep the real estate, I get all kinds of benefits that the flippers don't get. People call me a flipper. I put lease option tenant buyers in there, but I still own the house. That means that I get the depreciation, which is big, especially when you're 37% tax bracket, which is going to go up. I get the appreciation, which has been huge the last couple of years. I get the debt pay down. I get the monthly cash flow. And when I put somebody in a house, I get multiple thousands of dollars, somewhere between 5 and 10% down on a non-refundable option deposit. And they do not get that back if they move, which most of them do. They get it credited if they buy. And I don't have to bring the money to closing. Some people think I got to put it in an escrow account and bring it to closing. Now, when I get those $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 checks, it's my money. Do whatever I want to do with it, and they don't get it back. They just keep credit for it on their closing statement if they buy. So we're giving people a big opportunity to get in a house that can't qualify normally. People who can qualify at a bank aren't coming to me. They're going to go to the realtors and buy a house. But 70% of the market that would like to buy a house can't qualify to buy a house. So they're all ours. And we put them in there, and whatever's broke, they can fix it. We give them plenty of time to fix it. It's credit or debt ratio or can't prove income or something of that nature. We give them plenty of time to fix it. But for some strange reason, most people just don't do that and go buy the house. They've been there a while, and then they move. Or for the deposit, we have to go do it again. So it's longer you own a house, the more money you'll make. It's really just that simple. I can go on for hours with stories about that. And, just what a lot of people got very, very wealthy in the last couple of years just because they own real estate.
Hey, Augustino here, and I would love to connect directly with you. Text the word books to 844-428-1344 to receive weekly book recommendations from me.
Just made them rich, really did. But that's turning down fast. I see it all over the country.
It's
slowing down.
It's going to happen. And I think but to your point, though, to take advantage of the next slowdown, for someone that is like, maybe they're familiar with real estate, maybe they have a couple of books, or they kind of understand that to some degree, what's probably the first thing, like you touched on it a second ago, or for someone who doesn't know, how should they plan to acquire that first, maybe it's a house or a building or whatever, especially if they don't have the kind of money that they're going to need to get it shut down. Because I think that, to your point, lenders are going to tighten up. Investor money is going to be a little tougher to come by. Not impossible, but certainly going to be tight, right? How does someone put a deal like that together then? I know you love doing creative finance deals. So I'm thinking.
All right. Well, the first step to getting into any business is to learn the business from somebody who's qualified to teach the business, not from somebody that's got a big mouth on the internet because they bought a house or two and they're an expert. First warning would be very careful to whom you listen, because there's a lot of crap on the internet. I mean, I won't watch it, man. I mean, it just makes me want to throw up when I hear what some of these people are preaching out there today. So people come to me all the time that don't have money or don't have much money. Of course, I got people that do have money come in because they're looking for a way to get out of what they're doing or in retirement or whatever. But first thing you got to do is you got to get a little bit of education about what you're trying to accomplish. I've owned 6 restaurants, and I always tell people, you better not, you can't learn how to run a restaurant by eating there. Hey, you got to get behind the scenes to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And most people have total misconceptions about this real estate thing. I mean, they come in with all these things that people have told them, and they're thinking about all the worst that can happen. I teach people how to operate without risk, Augustino. The worst can happen is you lose an asset you already made money on, because I will not allow them to use their credit. I am absolutely against using your credit to buy anything, especially real estate, because that is the one thing that will take you out when times get bad. And of course, people, they think, no, times aren't going to get bad. I mean, come on, we're doing okay. Well, we thought that 2008 too. We thought, and trust me, I'll compare my losses to anybody out there in 2008. I had 32 projects going on in 9 different states, and they were all developments. And some of them were just ready to go vertical on. And then here comes September, takes it all out. I mean, it changes everything. And so money is different than it is back then. Anyway, back to the point. There's plenty of ways to make money in real estate. There's the ugly house business, rehabs, wholesale rehab, and then there's the pretty house business where it's about turns. Ugly house business, we pay cash, which we get from private lenders, not mortgage brokers, private lenders, people who don't even know what private lending is till we tell them. We use their money. We make the rules. We don't live by their rules. And we fund it with their money if we want to pay cash for it. But in the pretty house business, we don't need private lenders because we're going to get them with little or nothing down and on terms. The seller's going to finance them or we'll take over their debt. In some cases, we'll lease them with an option to buy. So somebody starting in this business just needs to learn the business because you don't have to have a lot of money. You're going to need a little bit of money. You're going to need a little bit of money to operate on. And if you're going to buy a house, you might wind up paying the closing cost on it. But when you get a deal, a little bit of money is very easy to raise if you don't have it. So you had to make the decision to buy that building you're living in. You had to decide, I'm going to put up with the risk because the gain is worth the pain. You went through that thought process and analyzed the crap out of it before you did it, didn't you? Well, single-family houses, there's not a whole lot of analysis to do, okay? It either makes sense monetarily or it doesn't. But I'm working both sides of the business, but frankly, most of my business is the pretty house. Back when we get through interviewing, I'm going out and look at one. I've already negotiated a deal on the phone with a guy. So, we got scripts that my students read. I mean, that's all they do is read the script, and we don't make offers either. We ask the seller questions, they answer the questions, and make us an offer. For example, if we can agree upon the rest of the terms, what is the least you could take for the house? They give me an answer. Our response, is that the best you can do? So we get a price right there. And then listen to the next line. We usually buy with nothing down, okay? And shut up, wait for an answer. Only two answers. It's either going to be okay, and you'd be shocked how many almost say okay. Absolutely shocked. In all kinds of price ranges. And if they say, well, what's the least you could take down? And then they give us an answer, come on. We usually buy with nothing down. How close to nothing can you get? And then we get another answer. And the last one is, I'm assuming you're okay if we just make your payment until we pay you off in full. So by asking the right questions, and they're giving us the answers, they're making us an offer. And then all we have to do is make an appointment and finalize whatever we want to finalize, get an agreement, and frankly, send it over to the attorney and let the attorney close it. So here's what it is. You generate leads, and I got to list out long the ways to do that. Our virtual assistants call the sellers for you and fill out the sheet. Then the ones you like the answers on, which is if you want to hear other options other than all cash, and we call them, and then we read the simple script, and they're either in or out. And if they're in, we go get an appointment, get a contract. So this business is so systemized and automated today, there ain't a whole lot for an investor to do. And it is if they get it and get themselves systemized, which takes quite a while to get people to the point of where they've been working all their lives, slopping hours for dollars involved in every little decision, to get the hell out of the way and let other people do what they do best so you can go out and work on and do what you do best. This is not just about making money. It's about freeing up your life so you don't have to show up for work every day and the money's still coming in.
That's right.
That was a long answer to that question, wasn't it?
But it's all right. No, it's good though. I mean,
you better shut me up. I can go on forever.
No, but I think another important element though too is you're helping that person out too, because they got to get out of that deal.
Absolutely.
They got to get out of that deal. And it's
Absolutely.
like you're giving them a solution, because the bank would tell them to go pound salt is what the bank would do, right?
Remember, they're making me the offer. I'm not making the offer. I'm just asking questions.
Because those folks need help.
Yeah.
So,
they're not. A lot of them aren't desperate, August. They know they just want to get out of their house. I'm not dealing with people about ready to jump in front of a truck. They're just ordinary people, and most of the people I buy from got good credit. Foreclosure comes along, okay. By the way, they're up 180 some odd % over last year foreclosure. So they're coming on strong now.
Oh wow!
Yeah, they've taken the brakes off. And here's what a lot of people didn't know when they got into that moratorium thing. Nobody told them that now when they get reinstated, they got to go requalify. And that's creating a heck of a mess out there because they can't requalify. People are losing their homes right and left.
Wow.
Once you get in the habit of not paying your debts, it kind of spreads to other things as well. And all of a sudden it comes back and pop, hit you. There ain't no free lunch. Okay, they just didn't do away with those payments. You still owe that money.
That's right. Well, they tacked it onto the back of the loan. That's what they did.
Yeah, if you requalify.
Yeah, if you requalify. And if you don't requalify, you're a host. You're done. So that's probably don't even get me started on government. I'm not going to say anything about that.
That'll take 3 or 4 days right there.
Easily. So I'm going to guess then that lead gen, because you said you have a huge list of leads. Previously,
a huge list of ways to get leads.
To get leads. So I'm gonna imagine though that coming up, you already know there's gonna be a ton of leads already to acquire. So how?
There's always people selling their house.
Yeah. So how do you get your hands on your leads then? Do you buy them, or do you have your own like lead magnet?
We can buy them, or we can generate our own. And I've got literally 2 pages front and back of sources to buy them and other ways to get them. Some of them are free. Some of them cost a little money. Some of them cost $150, $200 a lead. But the ones that cost $150, $200 a lead are by somebody else has already taken the time and the expense to call them and screen them before we buy the lead. So frankly, the best deals are the ones where we buy the expensive lead. As usual, when you try to get something for free, it's nowhere near as good as if you have to pay for it because somebody else has already done the work. I mean, I got companies that literally do mail for you at their expense, generate the leads, and then you just buy them. At least you know what you're buying. And so again, you can do direct mail on your own. We're experts at that. You do not want to try to advertise and pay and buy leads on Google and Facebook. You better get somebody who knows what the heck they're doing, or you're going to get killed on that. And it's a long list. Look, there's for sale by owner signs. We only deal with FSBOs in the terms. We don't deal with realtors. Realtors is a totally different world, and FSBOs are out there trying to sell a house on their own, and you won't be in the business very long before you realize that most of them are not qualified to sell their house, and they make a mess of it. And you know what? We can't get but 50% of the people to pick up the telephone. Can you imagine that?
I want to take a pause from today's show to share something that I've been encountering. As I speak to many investors, there's this concern, and the concern is centered around the inflation we've been experiencing and the devaluation of our currency. Now, we've seen some of the highest inflationary periods over the past 30 years. That's up over 8%. Economists actually believe that inflation is closer to 20%. Some say it's even more. Now, what does this mean for you? Well, it means that money that is sitting in your bank account or self-directed IRA that's not invested in physical assets that hedge against inflation are losing buying power. That means that every minute, every second, that dollar is becoming less valuable. You see this every day. You see this in the groceries you buy, the gasoline you buy, everyday items that you're buying on a daily basis are becoming more and more expensive, and you're using a less powerful dollar to buy these items, meaning that dollar is losing value if it isn't put into a property that produces cash flow, just like real estate does. Now, our team here at Bulletproof Cash Flow has put together a series of weekly webinars that cover real estate investing like multifamily, net lease, and real estate development. Now, these are purely educational webinars. In these webinars, we talk about why real estate offers a powerful opportunity right now and why it makes sense to invest in these assets today. So if you're interested in real estate or want to have the opportunity to get involved as a hedge against inflation yourself, I encourage you to go to bulletproofcashflow.com/webinars. That's bulletproofcashflow.com/webinars. Now you go there, these webinars are 45 minutes and they cover different topics every week. We go over the things you need to know to avoid some of the common pitfalls when it comes to investing while getting you prepared to invest your paper dollars into a real physical asset. Now, if you can't make the webinars, just go ahead and register and we will send you a recording that you can watch at any time. And by the way, these webinars are entirely free. There's no cost to you. This is just something that we do to educate our folks out there. So if you enjoy this episode, please like and subscribe to Bulletproof Cash Flow. It helps the channel tremendously when you do. Now let's go ahead and get back to the show.
Our VAs call 3 times, and only 50% of them, after they advertise they want to sell their house and they put their phone number right in the ad, they won't answer the phone. And they wonder why their house is getting sold.
Right. Well, it's a job. So, selling a home and dealing with like actual customers is a job, and they're not ready. They're not prepared to do it.
They're not qualified. They're just not following it. And sometimes they're grouchy, and sometimes they don't even know the answers to simple facts. Like when you owe on the house, things like that. So I can see why. It's a totally different market than the realtor. The realtor's got people that they already want a house, and they know what they want to buy. They got a list of buyers. So when you see houses going fast, you put them on the market. That's because this is the realtor, and they already got buyers in their system. This is a different world. So this for sale by owners for those that may not know what that means. So we only deal with the owner of the house. The Did I answer your question? Because I forgot what your question
Yeah,
was.
I don't remember either. But it's fine.
You don't remember. All right.
So now, what are your general thoughts around land deals? Because I know that land, I think,
I love land.
I think land, especially in Florida, is going to be a big thing.
I have a piece of land right now in Michigan, another one in Indiana, 2 in Florida, and 1 somewhere else I can't remember. And all these are all student deals where students, I work with students. I do commercial. I train on commercial, and I have a mastermind group that want to do commercial. And these are pieces of land that I bought because I basically put up the money and we split the deal with the students on not just land. I love land, but right now, to be honest with you, I've developed quite a few land projects into houses. I'm a little scared right now. Like all developers are, scared right now. They don't know what's going to be happening in the very near future, and they don't know how far these prices are going to come back down. And I can understand it because you're not in control of that. So it's a little risky out there to be building houses right now. But if you can sell them as fast as you can build them, great. But it still takes several months to build them. And I'm amazed at just what's happened in the last 3 months. Think how much things have changed.
And that's the thing. I mean, I think even trying to sell it now, even if you were able to build it in a week, you're not going to get the same output, the same sale price.
Prices are dropping. Prices are dropping all over the country. California's getting hit pretty hard right now with that, but still, it's not like 2008. Now, what I just said might lead people to believe that, well, golly, then what happens if I buy houses and the prices go down? And that's always a good question, isn't it? Can I get terms from the seller? Well, first of all, I'm not paying 100% of retail price. I'm always going to buy them at least a little bit, 10, 15% below or absolute retail. But on the other hand, let's suppose I go out and buy houses. I'm going to buy them on non-recourse debt. Make sure everybody understands that means I don't personally guarantee debt. I send a big, ugly bruiser after you if I catch you personally guaranteeing debt. He's got tattoos, he's mean, and he's got a big stick, and he's going to use it on you. Guaranteeing debt is the worst thing you can do. It's the biggest risk you can take in this business. But listen to the old guy. Guaranteeing debt is what takes people out. When they buy things without guaranteed debt, there's no reason to panic because if you own the house and the price drops, good. That means you're not selling it right now, and that's the best thing that could happen to you. You don't sell it right now. Only when you have a short fuse, like you got a 1-year balloon or you're building a house with a credit line, things like that, are you concerned about the house prices going down? I've got houses that I don't even know how many years, but I've got several houses that the tenants paid off for me, and they're going to be producing income, even after I'm dead, most likely. Because the truth is, when I put a tenant buyer in the house, most of them don't buy. So they just don't buy. Okay, if they buy, we get another big check, but they just don't buy. And not my fault. They just decide they don't want it. So these assets, I call them the golden geese. They just keep living on forever and just producing income.
Oh, so they stay there then, right? That's the owner finance deal that you're doing, right?
Well, I buy with owner financing, but I put tenant buyers in the house. I don't sell with owner financing because I want to keep the asset. I want to keep the depreciation.
Yes. Okay.
So in other words, I keep getting paid is the point.
Yes.
Without doing the work. I call it residual income, and that's my favorite kind of income, the kind that comes in whether I get out of bed or not. And that's that monthly revenue. And then we get the big checks when we put them in, and big checks when they move out and we put somebody else in.
Yeah, it's my favorite too. I love residual income. It's great. So what would you say then? Like, it sounds to me like everything you just said can be applied pretty much in any economy, whether it's good or bad, right? I mean, I think it's just a matter of how busy it's going to get. It sounds like, really.
And as things change, you've got to change with them. When the market is hot like it has been, it's tougher to find the seller deals. To me, you got to dig a little deeper. And have some other people do a little bit of work for you. But as this recession progresses, that's going to change. We should have been around 1982 when I started. Prime rate was 16.8%. Can you imagine? 16.8%. That was the prime rate. People can't believe that. I remember sitting in a restaurant one time talking to a friend. And I said, I wonder if we're ever going to get down to 10% again. And, that was a joke back then. Can you imagine buying a house at those kind of rates? So the people were still buying. Oh, and it wasn't a good market. It wasn't a good market at all. But the realtors were going, dropping like flies, but people were still buying because I learned very quickly, people will always need a place to live. This thing we call real estate is not a fad. It's not going anywhere. It's a requirement of life. In fact, our whole economy revolves around real estate. So I don't ever have to worry about losing a house because I can always rent it. You can always rent your apartments. And the worse the economy gets, the more they're going to need your apartments. So it's a good thing for what you're doing. It's a bad thing for offices. In our economy, people are starting to work from home. Including my own company. I'm sitting here in a building that I own, and there is hardly nobody around. They're all working from home.
Yeah.
COVID taught us that they can work from home, and we're in a virtual world right now. I'm buying houses virtually. I'm looking at one today. I'm going to go look at it, but if it wasn't here in town, the owner is in Atlanta anyway, so I'll never meet him. I've sent him a contract. We've already had a couple of conversations. But if I'm not here to look at it, I got students buying houses in other cities from where they live just from videos of the house. Because when we buy on terms, we're not taking any risk to speak of. And not personally guaranteed debt. We're not borrowing money from investors that they expect us to pay back. We're owner financing it with the seller, non-recourse, no personal guarantee. So the worst could happen is you lose the asset that you already been paid multiple thousands of dollars on, and it doesn't affect your credit because it's not your loan, doesn't affect your financial statement. Non-recourse debt doesn't go on your credit or your financial statement. So I tell people, go get deep in non-recourse debt, as long as it comes with cash flow, and it's a positive cash flow, not a negative cash flow, and just hold on to them, and you'll get very, very wealthy, very, very fast.
That's right. I learned the secret. I learned it the hard way without using, I guess, real mentors, right? Everything I did was through books and stuff like that. But I think one of the things that you do is actually teach people. You actually talk to them. You actually have the masterminds.
We do more than that. Yeah, we teach them, and then we help them implement, and we provide the sources they need to answer the phone for them, to call sellers for them. And basically, we got to the point to where this thing is so automated, there's really not much for an investor to do except make decisions, which is what all entrepreneurs should work for. Get all this crap out of your face, and so you just make decisions. And you know what I learned? I can even delegate making the decisions. I don't run this company that I'm sitting in. This is what I do. I just show up and talk to people like I'm doing right now, and I go teach. I still teach. I like teaching live events because we do live events still, and then we do some virtual events. But, I got my life to the point to where I don't have to do anything. Somebody else is doing it, and you're not going to be free. And real estate's pretty easy to replace yourself. Get in, learn the ropes, and then get an acquisitionist to do everything you do. It is. Yeah.
And you're doing, and just to reiterate, you're doing both the residential and the commercial stuff. So if someone really did want to do some commercial, they can reach out and say, hey, I want to do commercial stuff. Help me out with this. I think the toughest part is just trying to find the right asset. It's very frothy right now. The market is kind of crazy. So probably takes a little more effort to find a decent commercial asset these days that does say on the residential side, right?
It's difficult to find apartment projects because they're at the top of the demand list. For the reasons I just stated, the risk is very low to somebody buying apartments. One vacancy ain't going to kill them. I like what you're doing. You're creating your own apartments, and you'll make a lot of money doing it. But self-storage is right up there with it. When things go bad, there's two things that people need: a place to store their crap and a place to live. And what they don't need is a house that they can't afford anymore. So it works in our favor. And of course, when I'm putting tenant buyers in houses, they're all not qualified. I have no problem finding buyers. Just have to weed out the ones with the most money. And that's always been the case, always been the case, even through all these downturns. Selling a house on terms is 10 times easier than trying to find a cash buyer.
100%. Yes, 100%. Yeah. I mean, especially when you sit on the paper and you own the paper. There's a reason why BlackRock and Blackstone, all those guys do it. There's a reason why they do it too. They do it on a big scale, but they do the same thing.
Yeah, they do it on a big scale, but they're not doing it like we do it.
Yeah, exactly.
They're in for a single-digit return for their investors, and then the upside later when they sell. And Frankly, if they were smart, they probably would have sold this year and last year because the upside is at its peak. And, you know, it doesn't matter. They hold on to the assets, and then later the people are going to get rich.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But they're not competition to us.
Oh, no. They're not competition. Not for the stuff you're doing. I mean, you're doing it sounds to me like a much deeper dive off market type of assets too, especially, right? I would imagine you're finding off market stuff.
Well, sellers contact us. Those are the best quality leads.
Exactly. Nobody wants to call BlackRock.
Well, I haven't bought anything from BlackRock anyway.
Right.
No. And they're not buying anything from me.
Exactly. All right. Well, Rob, we covered a lot of stuff here today, you know, and then you're an absolute legend in this field. So for someone listening right now, what sort of bulletproof advice would you have for them?
Well, I got a lot of them. In fact, I got a whole book coming out soon called Lessons Learned. And that's full of those lessons learned. But listen, a lot of people are not getting in this business because they think it takes money or credit. And neither one of those are true. Absolutely not true. None. It does not take money or credit. It takes training on how to buy houses without using money or credit. So training is always your first step. But then the second one is implementation, because training is worthless without implementation. And that's where we come in big. We help with the implementation. But a lot of people aren't doing it because they think it won't work for them or it won't work now or the market is too hot because they listen to all the people telling them all the crap. Here's my advice. Broke people cannot teach you how to get rich. Be careful to whom you listen and follow the people that are actually doing it, not just talking about it. And frankly, the longer they've been doing it, the more they've learned that young folks just ain't lived long enough yet to learn. So go to the people who, I don't care what it is. I don't care what business you get into. I'd never start a business without digging up all the facts I can about that business. And I got to get behind the scenes. And in order to get behind the scenes, I got to talk to people that have already been through that so you can learn facts. This real estate is nowhere near as hard as people think it is. In fact, it's pretty darn easy when you're not doing everything yourself when you get out of the way. It's a whole business. By the way, I've never seen a business. I've had a lot of them. I had a restaurant cost me $100,000 a month just to break even. And many months I did not break even. And hundreds of thousands of dollars to get in it, get it up and running, and lose $100,000 along the way over 4 years. And people think that's how you get rich in America. But look at my overhead. My income was zero. Look at my overhead. Look at real estate. My overhead is so small, it's hard for me to even believe. You can operate this business for less than $1,000 a month without the paid marketing. Add a couple little paid marketing, $3,000 a month. And there is no transaction that I'm going to do that nets me less than $20,000 very quickly after I buy it. And from there, they go up. Such a small overhead, such a large, huge, high transaction values. Most businesses just don't have that. Walmart wish they had that kind of opportunity. They don't. They got to sell a lot of stuff, make a little bit of money on each. We don't deal in the volume. We deal in the high transaction values per deal. That's why it didn't take but one to get one launched. So people come to me all the time, well, I don't have much money. What I do? Well, you do whatever it takes that doesn't require your money, just like I did. Okay. Promise you, nobody's going to start broker than I was. And then until you get a little money, and then you start putting some of that back into your marketing to increase the number of deals that you could do. Next thing you know, you don't have to worry about that money anymore, especially when you get the residual income coming in that will supply enough to live on and beyond. And then it's not about where am I going to get money? It's about how am I going to make the most money, like you're doing right now.
That's right. That's right.
You didn't start out buying office buildings and putting apartments in them, did you?
No. I started single families, started doing all that same way. Made some mistakes, got a mentor early on, way early on, and then started, figuring out on my own afterwards to expand, And
stair step yourself to where you're at.
That's right. And there's still a long ways to go.
That's right.
Yeah.
First thing we got to do, though, is build a machine that'll get our cash flow taken care of. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you got lousy cash flow, you're not going to be thinking straight.
That's right.
You're going to make stupid decisions and chaos management. So we got to get the cash flow fixed first.
Yeah.
And then we worry about building an empire.
That's right.
Without risk.
That's right.
Without
no risk.
Yes. Yeah. Don't do the stupid stuff that I did.
Yeah. That's why I have to learn from the master. And Check out his podcast. He's got some real big names on there, real experts that have done this business as well. Not that Ron hasn't. Ron's done plenty of stuff as well. So, but definitely check out his stuff as well too. I think that you get a lot of information on how to do this.
Podcast comes out every Wednesday, but go register so it'll hit you with a reminder, and then you got all the archives. And I have interviews with pretty impressive people.
Yeah, well, very good. All right, guys, if you want to reach out to Ron, you can reach him via his website at thementorpodcast.com. You can also go to ronlegrand.com/bulletproof as well. All right, guys, well, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next episode. Take care.
You've been listening to the Bulletproof Cash Flow Show. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We know we had fun. Make sure to visit our Apple Podcast page and leave us a 5-star review. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from the show. For real estate coaching, events, and resources, head up bulletproofcashflow.com. Till next time.
No information in this episode should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Any investment opportunities mentioned on this show are limited to accredited or sophisticated investors. Any investments will only be made with proper disclosure and subscription documentation and subject to all applicable laws. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice.